Welcome in to the May 6th edition of the Capital PTBO podcast. Jordan Mercier here alongside Mark Million, live on location at the Capital PTBO on George Street in downtown Peterborough. Come and check us out. Mark, what's going on, man? How are you?
I've got...
You're just finishing up some business.
I'm just finishing up a Google text. Kimberly Smith, thanks so much for reaching out to us. Toronto Maple Leaf hoodie with a zipper. I don't. Sorry, you're going to find that out here in 3, 2, 1. There, I sent it.
Another unsatisfied customer in
Well,
that case.
and the first one in our history, and it's a week of firsts here. First ECFC home opener.
Yes.
The first disappointed customer. And the first week completed in the $1,000 bracket challenge.
I want to talk about that. It's also the first one. If you're watching, you'd notice that we only have one camera, not our traditional 3 cameras. That was just a little bit of tech snag. No problem.
No problem.
So we're, it'll look a little different, but that's okay. But as producer Maddie says, as long as we don't bang the table, that would be
Yeah,
great.
or shake your leg, I guess. Then the camera won't
It's
wobble.
going to be the friggin' Blair Witch Project with the way me and you smack around on the table.
No kidding.
For sure. No shortage of content here. We're believing that Rob Jenkins, president of Electric City FC, is going to join us. I know there's a whole bunch of stuff going on at the last second to get ready. You mentioned the home opener coming up against Windsor on Saturday night. Mm-hmm. I'm super stoked about this.
So am I, and I know for a guy like Rob, this is he's put it it's going to be a rock star production. I didn't get a chance to go out do the walkthrough yesterday with some of the other participants who are providing service at the field for Saturday, but we'll be ready, and I know Rob will be ready, and it's going to be terrific. There's going to be food trucks and scheduled to have entertainment, and it's terrific. So we're pumped too.
Amazing atmosphere is what's being attempted to be creative, not just watching the games themselves, but also you mentioned food trucks are available. Obviously, where you're going to be set up and selling merchandise. Mm-hmm. We know that there's a beer tent. We know there's a VIP section. Leon's involved with comfy chairs.
Correct.
And then also, what I'm particularly excited about is the kids zone, where kids sometimes, if they're watching the game, they can only sit for a certain amount of time. They're only going to pay attention for a certain time. So why not give the kids some nets, some soccer balls, and be able to go kick it around? I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's that at its core, that's fun, because the thing you don't want with mom and dad is, you don't want that sort of stress where they're every 2 or 3 minutes like, okay, never mind, Billy.
I'm thinking about taking my daughter to first Blue Jay game.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, 4 innings maybe. Like, she'll be distracted a little bit with people watching and the roar of the crowd.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking maybe 4 innings. Do you remember when you took your kids to the game for the first time?
Yeah. So the first event we ever attended was a Peterborough Pete's game. Kaylee fell asleep in the second period.
Nice.
So she wasn't having that, and she would have been maybe 5. Mm-hmm. We've done the Harlem Globetrotters, which was a lot of fun. I think it's a different dynamic too. So because there's a score every minute type thing, or every half minute. I remember Cole and I went to the ball game, and we were both into it, but not really, like for Cole, it was kind of like his first exposure to Major League Baseball type thing. So we've had that experience of kids falling asleep and kids like, this is boring.
Yeah.
But I think it gets easier as they get older, because now they just tell you, I don't want to go.
I told a funny story. I don't recall if it was my very first game. I think there was another one, because I have a picture of me with the Blue Jays plastic helmet.
Yes.
Which after the game, when it was 11 o'clock at night and I was in Union Station, I dropped on the ground and it sounded like a gunshot.
Oh,
the entire place was horrified and gasped, but I remember that. But I do remember one of my first games was we just happened to get corporate seats for the only time ever, and we sat at what was then Windows Restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember the biggest perk for my dad at Windows Restaurant is they would bring you an ashtray to smoke at the table.
Come on.
You didn't need to, back in the day, you'd have to walk the designated smoking section.
Sure.
Which is hilarious to think about now. But I remember him being like, okay, where do I go to smoke? It's like, oh, sir, no problem. Here's an ashtray. And it was against the Texas Rangers when they had Juan Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And
I thought Juan
team.
Gonzalez, as a nice little sidebar, I thought Juan was going to be the guy that would chase Maris.
Is that right?
I did. Yeah.
He had some big years.
He had some big years, and he was the type of guy, he was that big prototypical home run hitter. I thought he could chase. Maris.
Juan Gonzalez, not to get too far in that because we got a lot to talk about here, but Juan Gonzalez to me was also funny in that. So I still to this day don't quite understand the algorithm that goes into creating WAR, wins above replacement.
Yeah.
Because when you were watching, you were like, okay, Juan Gonzalez is an amazing power hitter, and there were years there. He won 2 MVPs, 45 homers, 150 RBIs,
Yep,
cool,
that's
good
right.
batting average. And then I'll always look at his WAR, and it's like 2.
Yeah, sure.
Like he has some of the MVP awards that people are like, wow, how did he win MVP? But when you were in the moment watching it, you're like, okay, the guy hit 48 home runs. Of course he's going to be MVP.
Yeah, he was the talent from that year.
Yeah.
I think his fielding is really subpar.
Totally.
Like
Has to be.
very much has to be down in the very lower levels because offensively he was a catalyst for a couple of years.
He certainly was. Speaking of catalysts, all right, let's switch gears. The National Hockey League playoffs. Do you want to start with the bracket challenge and give a little snapshot, or do you want to just go right into the meat?
No, let's go to the meat first, and then
Okay.
we'll save the dessert.
Okay, so the Toronto Maple Leafs jump out and pick up a very impressive victory in game number 1. Everyone's excited. You put out there on social media, and your point was not guaranteeing that Toronto was going to win, but you were saying, what was it about Tampa Bay that people would watch and go, oh my God, the Leafs can't beat them in any way, shape, or form? Because there was that a little bit of a sentiment among pessimistic Leaf fans that, they're the champs, they're going to win. Toronto played about as good and complete a hockey game as you can imagine in game number 1. Now, what we saw in game number 2 was that the champs get off the mat better than any other team. As a matter of fact, they have not lost back-to-back playoff games in their entire run, which is so incredible to me going back a couple of years in the playoffs. Going into game number 3, what do you think? We've seen a couple of haymakers from both sides.
I expect the Leafs to not to mimic what game 1 was. Game 1 was it was perfect. It was ideal. I think a lot has been said about what happened with Clifford and how that maybe that changed the focus of the game because the fans were terrific for once, because it does have that mausoleum sort of effect. I expect Toronto to come out and blaze here in the same sort of way. So on social media on Monday night, I mean, there's a little bit of bravado, there's a little bit of fandom in there, right? Because you're like, you know what? These guys are the champs. They looked old and slow.
Yes, they did.
And so, okay, you go into game 2. The thing that really cheesed me with game 2 was Simmons. I'm not a big proponent of Wayne Simmons. I don't find him to be effective. I also don't think these are men. These are hardened 2-time Stanley Cup champions. You're going to intimidate who in that lineup? Wayne. And not just Wayne. Ryan Reeves. Wouldn't matter who, whatever enforcer you want to bring. You see Kucherov. Kucherov stares right through Morgan Riley's face, right through his eyes, cross-checks him and says, what? Right? He's just like, what? Well, you're not going to intimidate him. Perry. He thinks, so anyways, Spets is in the lineup tonight.
Yes.
You can give, that's a win. That's a plus right out of the gate. Spezza won't embarrass himself or the club. He won't. In fact, if he scores tonight, that would just be better. And Leafs win 4-3.
He scores tonight, that's basically Wayne Simmons is gone, barring an injury. Like you figured he wouldn't come back in.
There's got to be so many other guys. Like Nick Robertson. Give me a kid that's got no experience first before you give me Wayne again. Corey Perry, Pat Maroon. These guys are laughing behind closed doors, Mercier. They know that they can get at Wayne at any minute in time because he can't control himself. Give me a break.
Did we see a level in Tampa Bay that you're worried that Toronto can't quite get that high?
I'm afraid that the power play is heated up.
Because that was a big story in game number 1. I mean, forget even just the 5-minute major, which Toronto had more chances penalty killing than Tampa Bay. Couldn't even get it set up.
Sure.
They also had a power play just before that, too. So that was a major storyline. And then last time, you get a penalty late, right? And you get that back-breaking goal with like 1 second left from Victor Hedman. And that was just what they needed to kind of get a little swagger back.
Absolutely. So, you can't reclamate that penalty kill that they had in game 1. You even just look at the numbers. You're going to kill 90% of every penalty. or the team's going to score at 30% clip, 25% clip, whatever it is. Shorthanded, you won't, though. Shorthanded, if for every 100 times that you're shorthanded, you're going to score once. Leafs have 13 goals this season on shorthand. So, to say that Mitchell is effective is an understatement. He's been terrific as a penalty killer, but that's not, you can't counteract taking bad penalties by having strong penalty kill. That's just not possible. So, that part I'm really disappointed about with. Otherwise, Vasilevsky is who he thought that he was. I think Jack has been fine.
Sure.
Did he let in a bad one Wednesday night? I mean, not one that I can remember that was overly bad. The one to Hedman that's a tough break. The Leafs have got every break too. They've got every bounce so far. So it's okay. 4-3 tonight. Budskis.
Toronto steals back home ice advantage. Yeah. I think one thing to say, now this is a different animal, but Toronto's also been an extremely good road team all season long. They're not a team that is really, oh my God, we had to win 39 games at home just to have a great record. This is a team that travels well. They play a game that's conditioned in the other team's building.
Yeah.
It can translate for sure. And I'm with you. If I'm a Maple Leaf fan through what I've seen through the first two games, it's amazing. And I won't generalize because, again, I don't think social media is real life. It's a funhouse mirror.
Absolutely.
But if you're taking the temperature, it's such dramatic swings between these guys are amazing and they might win 16 in a row versus, oh man, we have no chance to beat. My man Paul Rellinger, I was talking to him on the phone earlier. Yeah, I think they're done. They're going to lose 4 in a row.
Right.
It's what have you seen that says they're going to lose 4? They threw just as big a haymaker in game 1 as in game 2.
That's the curse of the Leaf fandom, though, right?
Just been beat down much.
You've been beaten back so many times. It's so far away, you don't remember the Battle of Ontario years, let alone the Gilmore years, because it is decades ago. Might as well be in black and white. So as soon as there's a loss, forget it. That's it. We're out.
They're finished. It's over.
Come on.
I don't think it is. I still like them. I like them in this matchup. But Tampa Bay, I said this a few weeks ago on the show, I think they're more poised to win a third straight cup than any team that we've seen since the Islanders that did it. And I'm saying that as a Red Wing fan. They won 2 in a row, made it to the second round. We're up 2-0 against Colorado, lost 4 in a row. Couldn't find their groove for the next couple of years. Pittsburgh felt like they were winding down, they had sort of hit a peak, and then Fleury's gone, and it was a bit of a changing. So I never looked at them as a serious contender for a three-peat. This team, I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the difference even too, when you look at that Blackhawks team that was always in and around there too, the goaltending was was it really there?
Yeah,
Crawford and Ranta and all these guys. There's kind of intermixing parts. The one thing with Tampa, you noticed. Justin and I talked about the Bruins this morning, how you can feel like Bergeron's still a very effective player, but age has creeped in. They've never got over the loss of Johnny Boychuk. And then they had Nick Leddy left, and they had Zdeno Chara left, who I know he's 45. But that I think that the boat has left the port on a team like the Bruins. Tampa, you don't get that feeling. I don't watch Stamkos with a broken leg and 15 years in the league, or however many he's got. It's pretty close.
Been around, yeah.
And I don't see him and Hedman and all these other guys dragging. I don't see that. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think this may be the best shot at a three-peat that we've seen in 15 years.
Bruins are an interesting one, too, because a lot of people are saying that might be time to sort of make some of those major changes among the key players. And then you look, and Pasternak by no means is old or anything, but you look at the infrastructure surrounding.
Yeah.
And you're kind of at that point where, I forget who, it was the host of Spit and Chicklets who's a big Bruins fan.
Yeah.
Rear Admiral.
Whitney. Oh, Admiral, yeah.
He tweeted that, hey, basically after game 2, he said, you know what? It's been a great 15-year run.
Yeah.
This core couldn't quite get that second cup to kind of put them in the Esposito category, but it's been fun.
Sure.
But maybe now it's time to sort of look away.
Yeah, you've got the goaltending, you got Pasternak. You get a couple of pieces there that you can hang on to and kind of divest yourself of the Bergerons, of the Marchands, of all these other guys.
So going back to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a second here, Matthews and Marner have been good.
Terrific.
Electric. They've done what you needed them to do.
Yeah.
Nylander gets the sushi food poisoning, but I think for the most part, he's been okay.
Yeah.
Jack Campbell has played extremely well.
Yeah.
There's a name we're leaving out here.
Oh, my God.
And it's got a C on his chest.
I know.
To me, with Tavares, and you go back where I think the stats were that he, hasn't scored since the Columbus preliminary round when they lost. But the thing is, with him, it's not even the lack of production in goals. I'll watch major stretches of the game where you just don't notice him.
You don't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where I'm
you
like,
don't hear his name.
Oh, Tavares is there? And that to me is more alarming. It's not like you're seeing someone who's getting good chances and eventually it's going to fall. I'm just like, maybe this guy's just worn out, man. Like maybe he's been around the block a time or two.
I don't know. He's averaging 18 minutes on ice. He has 1 hit. He has 3 blocks, 5 shots on goal.
That's not enough.
His face-off percentage is 78 points. I mean, he's crushing. He also got last change, right? So, I mean, they would have that benefit on the second line, who is maybe Braden Point or whoever that'll be now coming up Friday night or tonight. John has gotten a pass every year.
Because of the pictures in the pajamas in the Leaf bed?
Well, maybe in
Ontario
the beginning,
boy coming home kind of thing?
I don't know. Like for me, I've got a very good friend who is an anti-Leaf supporter, and
I love those.
So it was where's my jammies? That's fine, but Patrick O'Sullivan puts out a tweet when John comes to Toronto and be like, listen, this guy's all about the me points, and maybe a man can. You can gravitate away from that because he was in Long Island. He was the stud there. He was always the first guy with the mic shoved in his face post-game, fine. Now he's the 4th option. We go to Jack 3rd. We go to Mitchell 2nd. We go to Austin 1st. And maybe we throw in a Willie in there. And Johnny's like 4th or 5th on the list. Is he Dion territory? I don't know. Dion was so ornery by the end because he had been beaten so badly in the press because the team sucked. And, Burke wasn't putting anybody worth their medal in there, but he made Dion the captain, which was a very unfair thing, I think, for Double D. But now I look at Johnny and I think, holy smokes, he got 76 points. Played 79 games, regular season, very nice.
Most teams would take that from a second-line center.
This is the problem. Maybe it's the fact that he's a second-line center now in the postseason because you go, like you said, stretches of the game, and I don't hear his name. Like 3 shots on goal is actually surprising. So, I don't know. And, I mean, at $11 million a year, untradeable.
Yeah.
You can't get out from underneath that. So, I don't know. Like, you and I have joked off the air before, Justin and I too, like when these older guys want to come home, once you're over 30 and you're thinking, now I've made my money, I want to go and play in Toronto, win a cup and have a school named after me.
Rarely works out.
Very rarely does it work out. But they should put a 3-minute tape together of Jason Spezza. And just, John, if you don't play like Jason does, Jason's coming back here at 37. The guy's got to fight. You haven't even fought for a parking spot, let alone fought on the ice. So if you don't play like him, you sit in the box. Because how many of these guys come home to roost at 36? Wayne wants to come home and be a Leaf. Neuendijk, Roberts, Dougie. All these guys want to come home. They all want to. Yeah, right. It's Joey. They all want to come home at 35. Get out of here.
Well, we talked about Montreal a couple of weeks ago with Guy Lafleur's passing. And they always had a very similar thing, except with Francophone players, where it was like, okay, Danny Briere, you never wanted to sign there when you were a marquee player.
Right.
Now I'm a little bit old. Now I want to get some good graces. Cool. I'm going to go back and do that. So.
I actually look forward to the day where that happens again, where the Montreal Canadiens kind of reinvigorate that Francophone, that can't miss draft kid. Not the kid that plays in the queue, but the kid that's from Quebec. He's from Montreal, and he wants to come home because, maybe that and the Habs have that rich tradition, but Martin St. Louis and Vinny LeCavalier and these guys now coming into the office.
Maybe went for it with Drouin and it just didn't work.
I know. That's a tough goal.
And watching Sergachev on the back end is kind of fun too for Tampa Bay. Jeez. And Victor Hedman, I mean, let's put the conversation to bed. I think it was Mark Giordano who came out and said, this is the best defenseman in the league.
Oh, for sure.
He dominates the game.
Guy's a stud. Huge. Has
It's
an
actually kind of funny.
unbelievable
Actually, he's been caught in races the last couple of games, and goals were scored against him. But just watching him, he slows the game down. He's got such an offensive upside that I probably didn't think he had.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's physically imposing, rarely out of position. His stick takes away a lot of lanes.
Absolutely.
It's fun to watch him. I'm always a sucker for, I know you went on your soapbox about how you have issues with defensemen being considered MVPs, but I've always got a kick out of watching the defenseman who just goes out there for 28 minutes and oftentimes just dominates a game.
Yeah.
Controls the pace of play.
Controls the pace of play. He's up against the number ones every time.
All the time. Kills penalties.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks the power play.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Any other series caught your eye there, Mark, so far?
Yeah, a couple of surprises, certainly. I thought Dallas was already half dead. I thought they were. I would have called Calgary in 4. In fact, I think I might have even said Edmonton in 4. But two things that have been different in those two series. One, Calgary played a Calgary type of game in game 1. That's a Daryl Sutter 1-0. Let's fist fight. Let's get a shutout. Let's control the back end first before we go and fire wagon hockey. Mm-hmm. For Dallas to turn the table, that's their one trick. It's over for Dallas. They got their one, got their split. They made amends for John Klingberg getting punched out by Rasmus Anderson, which was a filthy, filthy fight.
Didn't like it.
I didn't like it either. Anderson goads him into it. Klingberg doesn't think he's going to go and then drops his gloves and dummies him. Give me a break. On the Edmonton side of the coin, John Quick looked like 2012 John Quick. He turned back the clock. It was unbelievable game 1. And then just like Cyndi Lauper's True Colors, right? Edmonton opens it up. It's 6-0. You didn't even chase John, but you could have. Because the backup's no better. The backup is the Cal Quantrill, but it's not him. But anyways.
From baseball to hockey.
The Cleveland Indians. So those are the two series. The rest of them, but I do have intrigue in the Pittsburgh Rangers.
By virtue of our pool, which we're going to talk about here in a second,
yeah,
I have a lot of interest in the New York Rangers. And I was happy that they bounced back the way they did, because a part of me thought when you lose in triple overtime in game 1, that could be deflating.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's what we even talked about. That could be demoralizing.
Yeah,
you could easily come back.
Me and you were talking about the 1990 Stanley Cup Final, where the game 1 goes to triple overtime. Peter Klima scores for Edmonton.
Yes,
Boston could never find their footing after that. Lost in 5 games.
That's right.
So it's been a lot of fun to watch that series, and of course, in the first, Shesterkin had 79 saves,
and then he went
crazy.
Down like he was shot in game 2.
Kind of gets in Jeff Carter's way.
Oh, yeah.
That reminded me of... That was very... If there's one... I love Hasek, but he was a big flopper like that too, eh?
He was, too. But there was a guy there that he cared so much about the craft, that he's probably... He's not looking for that. He just assumes that nobody's going to touch him type thing. Shesterkin was terrific.
Yeah.
That guy is next level. Holy crap. Going into the pool. Normally, you're the segue guy.
Yeah.
Now,
let's do it. I got a lot on my mind about
you want
this.
to. You want to throw? Okay.
Yeah.
So, $1,000 bracket challenge here at the Capital PTBO, proudly sponsored by David Dixon, Regional Director of IG Wealth Management. David is our guy. We really appreciate that. So if you've been following along on Instagram, you would see every day we're tabulating the results, and there's some tight matchups, but not really as tight. Oh, look at this. Right on cue.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you. Some of these matchups, so pretty widespread. I think we had over 80 players, 80 different players selected. McKinnon was the number 1 pick at 14. Matthews had a 12. Evander Kane had 11. Just depending by virtue of where you sat in your tiers type thing would dictate, where you went. Do we go to the Mercier-Latour matchup right away?
I feel bad because he can't really defend himself right now because of a microphone situation.
He's
over there just sweating right now.
So
I was the one guy who went down the list and said, I want to pick a team and load up on a team that I don't think anybody else is going to pick. And I had it down to 2. Was it going to be St. Louis or was it going to be the Rangers? And then I thought Colorado, I'm going to stay on them because they were so good all year long. So I went New York Rangers. So Kreider, Panarin, and company.
Lafreniere.
Oh, I did take him, yeah.
You did take Alex. So, obviously for you, so goals and assists are worth 1. Mercier, 17 points.
Pretty good so far.
Out of the gate, which I think would give you a tie for third. There are a couple sitting at 18, a couple sitting at 19.
Wow.
But obviously the big guys for you, McKinnon is a big get. Kucherov has been strong. Tarasenko,
Yeah, that was a bit of a flyer.
that's
That's the only one on my list that's like kind of random.
Sure.
The rest of them are Colorado or the Rangers.
There's so many guys. Yeah, so even on
Kucherov, I guess, too.
on Latour's side, Florida obviously has, I wouldn't say after the first game, certainly a letdown. Huberdeau, but Carolina has been strong for him. So he's got Aho, he's got Max Domi, he's got Jesper Fast, who actually got an assist. Congratulations.
He has a rule that you almost have to be a former Montreal Canadian. Do I see Tyler Toffoli on that list?
Correct.
As well? Yeah.
Tyler Toffoli is also on the list for Calgary, who's had a decent run, but he's had a tough beginning for the play. So, 17-13 is where it sits there now. A 4-point spread in this hockey pool, like the way the tournament scoring has gone, may not last. The Leafs go up tonight. That won't be tough. That won't be a big help for either of you two.
No.
But in some of the other more defensive stylings, Matt D'Agostini and Lisa Kachur, Dags, obviously. Anybody who's listening here would know who Matthew is. 10-8. A defensive affair. Both sides have played very tight defense so far. Matt D'Agostini, Jason Robertson, and of course a guy like Dags would pick a Peterborough Pete, right? He can't help it. He doesn't even work for them anymore. He couldn't help it. A couple of guys that have been shockingly, omitted from the score sheet. Jake DeBrusk, he's had a tough go. Blake Coleman in Calgary. He also doesn't have this guy, but Alex Newhook. A lot of guys went at Alex Newhook at Colorado.
Yeah.
Healthy scratch 2 nights in a row.
Ouch.
That hurts.
Reminds me of one year I took Ilya Kovalchuk in a playoff, or not in a regular season pool, and I didn't realize he was holding out for money. He still scored 50 goals that year, but I was like, damn, man, I didn't do any research. That was coming out of the lockout in 05-06.
We're also going to look like Shane Sayre. Macature, he's in a tough matchup.
You want to talk about defense?
Holy smokes, talk about defense. I think he's got all defensemen listed here. Shane, unfortunately, holds the prize at 7.
Wow.
He's got the lowest score of the round at 14-7. A couple ties, Chris Mitchell and I at 16s.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Tag and Overveld of Flavor Fashion and my dad at 16s. Is it too early to talk controversy?
I think we have to.
I think we've got to address the elephant that was kind of in the room.
One of the most marquee matchups people were looking forward to following was Justin Million.
Yes.
And Rapid Robert, my former co-host on Mercier and Crew on Extra 90.5.
Yes.
Friend of the show.
Absolutely.
Also manager of the MNC Ravens slow pitch team.
And have you had a strong start to the season? What's the conditioning
Haven't
been
played
like?
yet.
No, but I know you've had a couple conditioning stints.
He was painful. Actually, and he took some batting practice and hit one right back at me, hit me in the elbow. Almost took out the opening day starter.
Oh, you see?
That's disgusting.
That's old school, though.
Yeah.
That's the way Bobby would do it. Okay. Without further ado. So, we had a player who had selected David Perron on his sheet. Circled Perron, had told me on Saturday that he had switched his pick from Braden Point to David Perron. On our sheets, you will note that there is a 1 to 8 on the left-hand side to make it easier for me as I score them at home. In Tier 3, he had failed to write David Perron. He had left Braden Point.
Oh.
So, after the opening night, Perron went off with 4 points. Braden went off with 0. And so, as we worked it through, obviously we couldn't give him full points because while he had them listed here, he did not have it in the list, and that wouldn't have been fair. So, Bob being a good man, right? Be a fair, equitable human being. What we did was we came up with the idea of he will get 1 point out of the 4, and he will continue with Perron throughout. Well, ever since then, ever since opening night, it's been neck and neck. It's 2 thoroughbreds in the gate.
Jeez.
They're 18-17. Bobby's right with them. And 18-17 right out of the gate. And so if Justin advances, and we're not saying that he will, Bob, but if Justin advances, he will regain David Perron for round 2.
Okay.
And he will get the 3 points added to his total for the second round.
Just to take the listeners in, we had an in-depth discussion about this. This was almost like Bush v. Gore 2000 with the chits on the ballot.
Correct. I need a recount.
Were they punched out or not?
Yes.
And you guys came to a consensus, and when you came to me and asked my opinion, the only correct answer was whatever screws Bob is best, because that is content for days. Although I'm happy you found a compromise.
Yeah, and we never really considered that, Bob, just for you. When Mercier sent that back to me, I thought, no. Too much hyperbole for me. And the defending NCAA champion.
Yes. He's doing good.
Graham Elliott's got a 4-point lead on Garrett Sagerty, 18-14. So all in all, a couple of tight matchups here, which is what we want.
Can I just say, I'm not a big pool guy. So when you said you were doing a pool, I have to come in it but I'm not a big pool guy. And there's been a few people who approach me about going, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Even now, like I forgot who I picked. It was just, you do it and you check out. I love the one-on-one nature of it though.
Yes.
That adds a little spice for me. It's a new take on a really old concept of pools, which is usually just pick however many people.
Yeah.
I like the one-on-one, man. There's been trash talk. There's been swearing.
Yeah. There's
middle fingers.
I'm not sure about the middle fingers. Cheapers. Maybe okay. You see
one right there.
One right there.
Holy.
There's a couple of things that we've noticed right away that we will change for next season.
Yeah.
Next year's pool, the 2 teams that you have selected to go to the Cup final, we gave you a point if that team advanced. What we should have done is given you a point every time the team won a game. So then that way, when you get to the Final Four or you get to the Cup final and you've got whoever it is, if you have that team in the matchup, you can still win the 8 points to get the Cup champ plus the 4, instead in our scenario now, you'll get 8 points if you pick the Stanley Cup winner. Otherwise, you could have Colorado in the final and they get beat 4-3, and instead maybe it would be better if that was your only team left. You got 4 points per win. So that's something that will change for next year, and for a little bit more parity, I think we'll add 2 more players. Maybe we'll go to 10, 2 more tiers. But it is what it is. We're very thankful, David. Everybody that's participated so far, thanks for sharing it on your socials, and we're a week in. We'll see what happens next week.
Since we're just mentioning some of our favorite listeners here, I do want to give a special shout out to somebody who listens all the time, chimes in on everything, and that is world famous Jimmy, who brought me in this Canada Dry ginger ale and a couple of wheels, I understand. He just showed up.
Here I'm in the back. I'm just coming out of the back. I don't know what we're getting ready to embroider a hat or whatever. I see Jimmy. He comes over here, and you can smell. Pizza pies here. So, Mark, come on over. He tells me the story. World famous Jimmy, right? He used to buy the boys pizza every once in a while on the on the radio show back in the day.
Absolutely, he did. He would just come strolling in with the Domino's. I don't know what he had this time, but
Domino's.
It was Domino's.
What do you mean it's still in the bag?
He came in with Domino's all the time, and he would just pull a quick in.
Yeah.
And then there was even one time he gave me a very nice golf club. Because he's a member out at Keystone.
Correct.
And I think he even took Rapid Robert and Todd Van Donk, friend of the show, golfing last year. I couldn't go, but he took them out for a round, which is kind of cool. So he's a great guy, salt of the earth.
Terrific.
Nicest guy you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah, we were blown away. Super nice. He had come in yesterday. He's doing a project for a gentleman, and he's acquired himself a Masters dark green golf hat.
Oh, yeah.
Not available everywhere. So he's looking to get a Scotty Scheffler sign bid, and they will make it a shadow box. So we're going to work with him to find a Scheffler later on in the season once it's USGA's. It's kind of died down. Instead of paying $4.95 US for a signed glossy, we're going to find our man, Jimmy. So Jimmy, thanks very much for dinner.
Yes,
we appreciate it very much.
outstanding individual. Totally.
What else is on the bill today?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
NBA playoffs.
Right.
What are you watching?
Oh my God.
Right now? I'm not watching a lot of it.
Really?
No.
Oh.
And I've missed some good moments.
Get me some Golden State Memphis.
That series, judging by the first two games, off the charts. I feel bad. I'm embarrassed that I haven't given it the attention it deserves.
It's almost on like immediate rivalry level. Draymond is being Draymond, right? Ja has been horrifically great.
Yeah.
For that franchise, and I guess maybe like you have that soft spot for that franchise because they have been brutal for so long.
Big Country Reeves.
Oh my
back in the
gosh.
day. Sharif Abdul Rahim.
Yeah, right. He had to tie his shoes 80 times because he had that, syndrome or whatever it was. I meant that with all due respect. He did.
OCD?
I think it is OCD. It's not
like
a
Jack
syndrome.
Nicholson from As Good as It Gets, where he has to use like 5 bars of soap.
Yeah, I think it's on that level. Series is tied at 1. There's guys that hate each other in there. Like Morant scored 47 in game 2.
Pretty cool.
Like,
and game 1 came down to the very last,
Yeah, it came down to the last possession, and I mean we've got a snapped orbital bone in there, and like cheapers,
I did see
old time.
Embiid is out for game number 3 for Philadelphia. So, I mean, Miami's kind of cruising in that one.
And does that if they get swept, 76ers get swept, does that cost Doc his job? Leaving Embiid in during the blowout of Game 6 against the Raps, and then he takes one from Siakam?
Looks really silly. I've always thought that he's one of the most overrated sports coaches. He's got one championship, and it was on a paid-for Boston team.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I even saw a press conference not long ago where he's like, everyone's questioning me as a coach. Like, look what I did with Orlando, which he didn't really do much with Orlando.
Yeah, right. What did you do?
But I don't know. He had all those Clippers teams, which were supposed to be so talented, and they never did a thing.
No. And I think a lot of that, like you're trying to manage egos there between Chris, because Paul was a different animal.
He was.
Playing in LA as what you're seeing now in Phoenix.
I don't know. To answer your question, I think they stay with Doc, but I don't know why Doc gets this much cred.
Yeah.
And I also think he comes across kind of smug. Not a big Doc fan.
So do I. Yeah,
I liked him he used to do color, and I liked him on color commentary.
Sure.
Glenn Rivers,
that's right, yeah. We could have triviaed that.
Yeah.
The other matchups are all 2-0. Nothing exciting.
Well, Boston-Milwaukee.
Yeah, Boston-Milwaukee.
Which has been kind of clunky through the first 2 games. Boston responds in game number 2. I still like my Milwaukee. They're still my pick to win the whole championship.
Wow. Otherwise,
I'd love to see Dallas make it against Phoenix.
Yeah.
I want to see a 7-gamer there. That's tough, though.
Yeah. I like the Suns, no Devin Booker, right? Like, I don't think Booker's played the tour, right? Is that right? No. So, I don't know. It's not smoke and mirrors there. I know, like, Chris Paul is the talk about, you watch Rome and he has that, that reinvention project podcast. That's Chris Paul.
Yeah.
The guy has reinvented himself into a leader, into a me guy second. And I think that's really something. I think that that's good for Phoenix, but I can't get behind them. That doesn't excite me.
Final thoughts: Electric City FC versus Windsor. We should point out the women are playing tonight too against
the women.
Derby.
I
had to look up Derby, so it's a combined Darlington Whitby team.
Oh, is that right?
Derby. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that would make sense.
And they're playing in Curtis tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get down and support them. It's not far.
Yeah, Angelica, she is the director of merchandising for Electric City, so she's in charge of doing our restocks and that sort of thing. She was in today. The girls were on the bus, so they'll be there for a 7 o'clock start, I think, tonight. It shouldn't be close. The women are fierce.
Awesome.
Like, they're ferocious. 5-0 beat down the other night, which actually, if you watched the game at all, it wasn't a blowout. The girls scored in the 4th minute. And, I mean, I think they scored 3 goals in the last 6 minutes of the game.
Right.
So it wasn't, it wasn't as indicative of the score. But the girls have added a couple of girls this week. The ladies have added a couple of players this week that, still a couple of girls that are away. So this team's only going to get better. You know, the continuity will only get stronger as these games take place. But yeah, so this is the last one before their home opener next Saturday.
Going to be a lot of fun. Peterborough is going to morph into a soccer city tomorrow. I'm hoping, 1,500, 1,600 people. It'd be
Holy
nice. I know the
smokes.
atmosphere is going to be very intimate. They put the bleachers very close to the fields.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
The current 1819.
Correct.
They are sort of the fan base that is going to be the crazies.
Yeah.
The Cameron crazies down at the one end.
Right. They are the heartbeat of,
Yeah.
That fan experience at the pitch. You look to them for the drum beat. You look to them for the chants, that sort of thing, which that in itself is fun.
Yeah.
Something that seems to be not at every club. I've only watched 2 games, so I can't really say for sure.
Ontario League One expert.
Yeah, Ontario League One expert Mark Millian. But yeah, Rob expects, when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, he says, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people. And if you've been to Fleming, like 1,000 people, that thing's going to rock.
Yeah.
All the tents set up. We're set up so as soon as you come in the entrance, you're going to see us there. We're going to be there selling the gear. And the beer garden's right next door.
Which is
You
nice.
see? So once the kickoff rolls through, if you want to come down and get something after the opening minute, after the opening kickoff, fine. You just may not find me there. You might find one of our employees there, and I might be having a drink.
Going to be a lot of fun. Semi-professional soccer makes its way to Peterborough, and it'll be at Fleming College. I know our man Matt Latour is going to be there. You're going to be there, and I'm going to be there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Night's supposed to be beautiful, sunny, 20 degrees. It's going to be outstanding.
Are you sure 20 degrees? Because
so.
I think it's going to be like 4 degrees Celsius at 8 o'clock at night.
Okay, well, I didn't go for the 8 o'clock part yet.
We'll be Electric City. There's only 10 scarves left. So if you have any interest in getting a scarf as a supporter, this is the truth. You can only get them here. There won't be any available at the pitch for opening night. We've changed, and when I say we, I mean the royal we. The team has changed the scarf layout. So there's only 10 original scarves left.
Wow.
So you best get one.
Collector's items.
Collector's item. And we'll have scarves, and we'll have toques, and we'll have hoodies that you may want to keep yourself warm.
Going to be a lot of fun, and make sure to come down and check it out, Mark. This was great. Can't wait to catch up. We'll talk more about the playoff bracket coming up, and stay locked to the Instagram page for the frequent updates.
Every day.
Which is great. For producer Maddie and Mark Millian, I'm Jordan Mercier. This has been the Capital PTBO, right here, produced by MNC Podcast Productions.